when I came out to do this video, it was sunny, and at the moment, well, it was showering. There was actual water coming out of the sky. That's the sort of day it is. I think it's 29th of September or something like that. And what I wanted to do was just review the wiring of my outdoor layout and talk a little bit about that. But maybe I could also supplement that by doing a different one. So this is the garden rail outdoor layout introduction by me doing face to screen starter, whatever that's called, in the language of vloggers, etc. So hopefully, if the rain holds off, I'll get a couple of things running around the track and I'll talk to you about that. I'm running a fairly power hungry loco with a reasonable load behind it, which helps to test the electrical continuity of the track. There was a brief bit of sunshine. That's now gone away and turned to rain. You can see it running away. Yeah, I'm going to turn it down. It is excellent because it's running at something like 2.5 to 3 and it's running fine. Let's just stop there for some reason. Ah, right, okay, so there's no track continuity across the bridge. Okay. Right, oops, I've got something off there. It's derailed. And that's because, right, it's derailed because there's a big gap as we go over the bridge. Get that back on there. So it has slowed down a little bit at the farthest reaches, so there's resistance through the joins, and they both pick up reasonable speed as they go past where the power feed is. And it's pouring down now, just when I wanted to do something. Right, let's have a look at this, because this is what I wanted to say. Let's persevere. Right, we've got some sidings here, as you can see. And what I've got here is a single gapped rail and a piece of wire across it. A single gap rail. These are, you can do it yourself just with a hacksaw blade and some wire. This allows me to isolate the sidings and turn off the power. You've got to gap it at both ends, or is it just, well, there's a gap there. I don't know how it's gapped at this end. Oh, by an insulating rail joiner. So an insulating rail joiner here, which I've 3D printed. Okay, permanent gap here, so the power to this siding is switched with the point, but also with that gapping device. So there it is. I can isolate the siding, so I can park something in the siding and then turn the power off by opening those gaps, which are LGB specific items. Those were just gapping one rail, and I've got one more here. Don't know where I found them, they're all second hand, and that one is a twin gap. Everything's just getting covered in rain, isn't it? So this, you'll see it's a little bit slower because it's at the farthest point, and I can improve that by just going around checking which joints are providing the resistance. But there we see two gaps in the rail. That's a magnet to send the sound going. That one's running quite speedily. It's downhill there, and that's just chugging slowly. But that's a loco which I'm assuming, because it's a bigger loco, pulling a heavier load will draw more current, and therefore should test the continuity rather more than a smaller loco, which you see running at the back there. No, I guess the speed change isn't huge. We'll just watch it go around. So that's it for the wiring. I do have an alternative track feed here, which is so that I can control the track and the locos from this point here. On this one, it was convenient having this as a staging area and controlling area. The only other thing I would say, apart from bridging the bridge by putting the wires across underneath, I have put a couple of wires through here in that concrete. This is mainly for things like lighting, to get power to this point there, and a few wires going further over. You'll see the black coiled wire, bell wire, alarm wire, and a piece that's gone up. So when I was putting the concrete in for here, I put some wires in so I can add some lighting into buildings. So whenever you're doing any concreting or laying of the track, I'm going to stop it now because it's raining and I need to take it all off the track and put it away. So I need a table here to put that controller on because I've moved it. So I hope that's helpful. So mainly then, my connection is done by physically linking across rail joints. On this one, you'll see a mixture of screws drilled and fitted through the fish plates, a rail clamp on there, screws drilled through the fish plates. Need to use stainless steel screws. I've used steel screws in some places. Some makes, Pico I think it is, Aristocraft, come with these Allen head tiny set screws which go into the rail, which are very neat and very tidy. Mine are not so neat and tidy. Now, in regards rail expansion and contraction, when you do that, there is a gap. So if the expansion is enough to overcome the friction of this sort of clamp, it will close up the gap. On this side, it can't overcome it because the way you screw it in isn't through a slotted rail joiner. It's just straight through it, and then it won't move. But what I've done is, in quite a few places, loose laid the track so that there's movement. And as we're in the UK, we don't get that much expansion and contraction, but there's enough movement in that track so if there's any expansion, it just increases the curve, pushes the curve round. So that's the approach. You see there's some movement here, not a lot, but enough movement for the track to move. Certainly at the bridge it can move closer and pull apart. So I don't get serious buckling here in the UK when I rigidly connect my track ends together. So I'm very fortunate, I guess, with where I live, and the rain has stopped now, thankfully. Fortunate in terms of extremes of temperature, not so fortunate this time of year. There's some sunshine on that hill, bit of a breeze. I might leave the stock out if it's not going to rain again, so that it's got a chance to dry off. And people talk about running in the rain. Well, nothing's short-circuiting with the water. Everything's running okay. When I run things slowly, particularly over this crossing, I don't need this crossing. I rarely use these sidings here. Then the plastic of the crossing provides enough so that the 040, which this is, doesn't get sufficient power to continue going across it. It's standard with any track that sort of thing will happen. Without a separate power feed, they do slow down as they get to this farthest point. That little green one didn't. Maybe that's because there's not as much load on it and therefore the drop isn't as significant. But we're now going slightly uphill round a bend. I've not touched the controller, but the power is obviously just dropping a little bit here. And I think now it's picking up the power which comes in the opposite direction. So there's one power coming that way, one coming that way. It's now picking up the other power, and we'll see it pick up speed, and you'll see the difference in speed as we get. That one at the track feed isn't going at a speed much different to what it was all the way around. But you see this one really picks up speed. Mind you, it's going slightly downhill here. Likes that. That one pauses on the plastic of the point. It's got 6 wheels and 2 shoes. So it's got plenty of power pickup points on the loco. That's why it's such a great little runner. Plenty of power pickup. Should I try a selfie with the trains in the background? There we go. As a cloud has gone past, the rain has stopped. Soldered wires. It's not even a joint. Soldered wires. Not all done at the same time, done over different times. I'm planning, before my next soldering of joints, on looking at building a resistance soldering machine. Specifically because there's one of the YouTubers that you'll have seen who has done that. All very wet. It takes its time, and I've now got a strong enough soldering iron that is electric soldering iron, mains electric soldering iron, that's strong enough to do that. But I've also used rail clamps in places, and quite a long link on that one. So a right hodgepodge of ways of connecting so that the power travels through the track. I really need a sensitive resistance meter to check this out. Inside track 9.5, 9 point something 8 point, oh, as the loco gets closer it drops a bit. 9 point, no, the loco's not close to it. While I'm at this point, let's do the outside track. 8.6. Woo. Inside track. 9. Oh, dropped. 9.5, 9.6. Let's go over here. Let the loco pass. Seven-ish on that one. Yep, can you see that? And the outer one, 8. So there's less voltage drop on the outer one. 8.5, 8.1. Remember, they're different size motors pulling different loads. 8.4, 8.5. Hope that shows up on the video. But that's gone down to, oh, it's gone back up to 9. But that's because the power might be coming from this direction. Yep. Remember, the power comes two ways round, and if there's no load, then there won't be as much voltage drop. But as it goes past, it's gone down to 7.5. That's the power coming in this direction towards it. And as that's gone past, yes, it's dropped. 6, 7, 7.8, 7.9, 8.1. So as it goes further into the distance, the voltage is increasing. And so I think what we're seeing is that the resistance in the track causes the voltage to drop. But not that much here. 8.7, 8.8. Let it go past. Right. Interesting. I've finished. About to put the stuff away. The sun has come out. This is the UK for you. Garden railways in the UK. We do have fun.